We had made $30,000 net profit for the year. We now make average $70,000, $80,000 net profit per month. You can't build your business without freeing up your time. I think too many businesses that I talk to be honest, Tony, they want all the profit now.
The business is going so quickly, and if you don't keep up, you're going to fall behind.
Yeah, you need to say you're going to do something, Tony, and you just need to do it. Have a crack.
They always say, like, no risk, no reward.
Yeah.
And it's so true.
On today's episode, I interview Jake and Nasia from High Rise Air Conditioning and Mechanical Services. Now, Jake and Nasia are members of the $1 Million Tradie program and recently joined our high-level boardroom program. Now, Jake and Nasia are a dynamic couple who are determined and motivated to achieve big things. Now, their story is inspirational and it leaves lots of clues about how learning the basics of business and implementing hard leads to success. Don't miss this episode if you want to know how to grow a multi-seven-figure business in a short period of time. Alrighty, welcome to the podcast. Tony Fraser-Jones here, your host, and today I got something special. So welcome, Jake and Nasia. Lovely to have you here today.
Thanks
Tony.
I was going back through our notes when you first joined the $1 Million Tradie program. Always fun to do that, and it makes interesting reading. So way back then, I think your revenue was around sort of $140,000 a month. Profitability was kind of break even-ish. And you had about 6 staff, but you didn't really have any management support, and business was really busy and it was super stressful. And I think what struck us is that you both knew that the potential of the business and of yourselves, but you were kind of stuck on how to make it all happen. So what I'd love to know is, can you talk us through why it was important for you to make changes and get help when you did?
Yeah, look, thanks for having us on the podcast, Tony. I remember when we started High Rise and I was working 12 hours a day every day, and I used to think I was making money because I was looking at, the spreadsheets, and I would tell everyone I was making money, and then Nasia would always be nudging me saying, our bank account's got no money in it. I don't know what he's talking about. I actually had 9 guys when I joined PT, but 3 of them left, I think, the week after I joined abruptly. And I had no idea why. I thought my culture was great. I thought we were making money, but it turns out I had it completely wrong. I reached out because I'd worked 10 months straight and I'd made $30,000 real profit. And I just thought, how can I keep up? I can't do this forever. I don't really know what I'm doing. I want to be good, but I just don't know what to do. I had a vision for success for my family, but I just didn't know how to get there.
How was that situation affecting you?
Yeah, like I used to be the type of guy that said, if I work harder, we'll get there. I was neglecting my wife, my family. I was just quoting up all night. I was sitting on the computer quoting all night, trying to win something. And it was actually making me depressed. I quit my stable job, good income to pursue this. And I guess it wasn't panning out the way I thought it was going to pan out.
And I know that it was tough, but I also know that both of you are, you're very motivated and capable people. And I guess that made it doubly frustrating because you knew you could be better.
Yeah, well, my wife, like Nasia, she only ever ran her own business. She made it look so easy. Since she was 16, she was running a makeup business from home, and I was working, on wages. So I said, if she can do it, we can do it together. And it just kind of didn't happen the way I thought it was going to.
I think the first few years of business is always like going to be so tough, and everyone just looks around at someone else that has a business like, oh, it's so easy. Like, I'll just do it. But it's really not as easy as you think, especially if you're not implementing the right structure along the way.
Yeah, 100%. So I know that you were struggling, but you did have some big goals and you wanted to achieve some stuff. Was that part of the reason that you really needed to get some help too?
Well, I think the main thing is, Tony, that, you go to school and you're not taught how to run a business, right? So I was researching, I need help. I don't know what I'm really doing. I'm pricing things at 20% profit, thinking where's the money going, not understanding what overheads really were, or direct costs of a business. I reached out to my parents for help, but it's hard to help someone unless, you know what you're talking about, right? So, I guess that we reached out to coaches and we haven't looked back.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys have worked hard too, which is amazing. What I'd love to do is, then we've talked about where things were. So can you tell us about how the business looks now? So the changes you've seen, what you've managed to achieve, revenue, team wise, structure, all that sort of thing.
So December 2023, we had a Christmas party with 6 people, including me and my wife. This year, we had a Christmas party of 24 people. Okay. We had made $30,000 net profit for the year. We now make average $70,000, $80,000 net profit per month. So things are completely different. Life is completely different. I work 8 hours a day, not anymore. We can have holidays. There's a lot's changed since joining PT. And the main thing that's changed is the confidence that we can grow, we can scale, we know what we're talking about. Yep. We have a good system, and we're just growing rapidly.
And can you talk us that you've got this team that you've created? Can you talk us through what the structure of the business is now? How the team's set up, what the organization structure is?
Yeah. So now we have a strategy team and a management team. Now the strategy team consists of the office manager, the operations manager, marketing and sales manager, which is me and Nasir. And we get together every month and talk about where the business is going, right? That then funnels down to our management team. Management team will have project managers, estimating managers, and people under them. So we actually have layers of structure now, which means Nasir and I aren't dealing with any of the fires that happen in business. We don't go to construction sites.
Yeah, everyone's dealing with their own departments in their own way. So, Jake's not having to answer to any of the tradesmen anymore that are on the tools. The team leaders deal with their own teams, and then so forth with their project managers, and then the operations manager looks after the project manager, and so forth. So really there's a good structure in place, and I think that's what PT has really taught us. Is that you need that breakdown structure, and you need different levels of your business.
You need layers.
And definitely a lot of layers.
And I think a real challenge for running a business is all of that, the fires you fight, the day-to-day operations management, which by its nature is quite urgent because there's jobs to sort out, there's clients to talk with, there's mistakes that happen, deliveries aren't made. That's just part of life. And obviously we try and reduce that as much as possible. But how has that shifted for you, particularly, Jake, now that you don't have to do that? How has that changed your emotional state, your feeling about life and business? Because I find for most people it's pretty significant.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest thing that we've been able to achieve, Tony, is time. Okay? We have time. I don't answer 150 phone calls a day. Okay? I really only do the things that are important to the company. And that will be, fine-tuning the last minute of the tender, whether it's going to the tender interview or meeting with a builder. I have time to do that. If my only advice, or one of the biggest advice I can give to anyone is you can't build your business without freeing up your time. Okay? But yeah, that's the biggest change. We have time for the business. We have time for ourselves. We have time for our family.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And when you're talking about results and changes, what have all those results meant for you as people?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we've been able to move into a nicer home. We've been able to book holidays. We've been able to have confidence.
Taking time away without having to stress that the business is going to fall and crumble has probably been the biggest thing. I remember when we went on our honeymoon and, it's no one's fault at the end of the day. We were still young and learning, and we still are. And Jake was on the phone a bit more than, what we would have liked, but that's okay. We were overseas, so the time difference was obviously quite difficult. And then I remember the following year we went away again, and it was, completely different. It was just like...
I felt like I had to make up for my honeymoon, Tony.
You're a good man.
I remember being on a boat in the middle of the ocean, just on my phone, and I'm telling the captain.
There was no service, and he was trying to he's like, where can I get service? And I'm we're literally in the middle of the ocean. There's going to be no reception here.
Yeah. I look back at that and just laugh, but I also feel bad that, I did that. Looking, that should be a time you get to go away. And I think that's the biggest change. It was the biggest almost kick up the ass, Tony, that things need to change. I'm away on my honeymoon where I'm supposed to be spending time with my wife, and I'm looking for a reception at the top of the boat.
Well, I think there's a lesson there too, isn't it? Because how many business owners, and maybe you're listening to this, you're keen to change, and you almost can get conditioned to that that struggle. You almost think that it's normal, that's the way you have to slog it out. But I think you've proven, and obviously hundreds of people, thousands of people we work with, that's not the answer. Working harder and beating yourself into the ground is just a really quick way to get tired. There's a better way.
There's a stereotype, Tony, that trade businesses are just tradies. They work 15 hours a day, come home to their wives, they make a few $1,000s a week, and then get up at 6 a.m. and go again. It doesn't need to be like that.
Yeah,
for sure. So on the concept of having better times, what do you guys like to do for fun?
We like to travel now.
We love to travel. We've always loved to travel, but I think even more so now, knowing that we can go away and the whole company isn't just going to fold when we leave. We know that we've got an amazing team in place, and everyone is responsible for their own department, like the management. And I think we've hired the correct roles and all the key roles, so systems can keep flowing while we do go away.
Yeah, because we don't want to give up that holiday stuff, Tony. Like, that's what we prioritize that in our life. Everyone needs a break, and we make sure that we do get that every year.
Yeah,
and that was one of our main goals for starting a business, was we wanted that time.
And I think for us as well is that, running a business, and all business owners would probably understand this, is you never kind of switch off. Like, even when it comes to the weekend, you never actually switch off or take a rest, or, on Saturdays we'll be doing something for the business, or we'll be thinking about something, or we'll be thinking about a new structure we can implement. We'll be out for a really nice dinner, just the two of us, and all we do is talk about business. We love that because it's our whole life, and, it's what got us to where we are today. But in saying that, I think that holidays for us is the only time where we really switch off. And that's the only time where I see Jake really rest his mind. And I think that is so important, because you cannot be going around the clock, go, 24/7, 365 days of the year. Like, you really do need to take that time.
Yeah.
And we even make sure that our management staff
take their
time off as well, because we've got a lot of people that, they don't see the value in going on a holiday with their family, or they're just like, oh, I don't want to take time off work, or we're going to be behind if I go away, or anything like that. But we ensure that they do take their holidays and they take that time with their family, because when they come back, they're so much more rested and recharged and ready to go again.
Yeah. And that's a really critical point that I think a lot of people really struggle with, is that the most important asset in your business is actually your mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is your brain, and obviously reflecting on your journey. And we'll get into some of your lessons shortly, which are killer. If you've got some space, both time and headspace wise, then you start to think properly, and you make good decisions about what to do with the business, and you can make them out of a place of more abundance, less stress. Because when you're stressed, you can't think straight, and so you tend to make fear-based decisions, and really, instead of looking at the future. So I think that's a really killer lesson, because the more time the more ability and space you have to just think about things and make good decisions, what we find is the business just gets better and better. And most people struggle to do that, and their businesses don't really change, which is sad, but it's definitely an opportunity.
Yeah.
Let's talk about changes and some of the great things you've done, because I think there's some killer lessons here. So there's a few things I think you've done that have made a huge difference, and I'd love to dig into those, and we can share some of the wisdom with the listeners. And the first one for me, and it's my experience, that entrepreneurs who have grown quickly, is that they are really good at sales and winning work. And I think you as a team fit that mold. So how do you go about sales and marketing, and what do you think has made you successful here?
Look, we had no marketing when we first started. We didn't prioritize it. I didn't really understand it. I thought, what is the point? Once we started to really invest in our brand, that's made a world of difference. You need to become trustworthy to the general public, whether they use you or not. Okay. So when we started really wrapping all our cars and pushing our socials, that made a difference because more people were then reaching out. That gave us opportunity, Tony, to then, okay, you know who we are. Now we'll quote your work. Now I'm already one ahead of the game. I'm not just this quiet, person that's just going to send you a tender and hopefully you recognize me. Like Nasir and I is very good at being ahead of the industry now with marketing, and we've actually put it as probably the number one focus at this stage of our business is marketing and sales and business development.
It's really what's driving our business at the moment. It's the impact that it's made has been crucial to where we are today.
And when you can see those analytics, Tony, like the office team goes, hey, we had 400 clicks to the website today. Now, we're in commercial. So when 400 people are clicking on your website, they're not there to get a quick sale. They're there to find out who is this brand.
Yeah.
So some advice I give to other people is really invest in your brand and have confidence and back it. Build your killer website, build your killer Instagram, wrap your cars.
It is important.
Wear your shirts. Tell everyone who you are and who you're working for and why.
And I think touching on what you said before about the stereotype of trade businesses, they never think that there is like
anyone watching
or a creative side to it.
Yeah.
Like there actually is so much more than just the guys on the tools or a man in their van. Like there really is so much more to that. And if you start looking at it like a corporation, like a business, like a big company, then you will get to that point. I think that's what makes a difference between the large scale companies and the ones that just stay small.
Yeah. And so for the listeners, what's the area of work that you focus on?
So we're just commercial construction, right? So we just do new installs and part-time service on commercial construction. So our clients are, not the mum and dads that call up and need an air conditioner. They're the builders and engineers and consultants. So how do we get in front of them? We need to build the brand. We need to put it in people's face so they recognize the name.
Yeah, and there's a massive thing here, isn't there? Because a lot of people, and we'll get into tenders and stuff in a moment, but in that large project domain, a lot of tenders and that kind of thing, people kind of feel like they're just a price taker and they don't have much control over the result. It's like, well, if we're the cheapest price and they kind of think we're okay, they'll give us the job. And they feel like it's in the lap of the gods a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Which makes you feel out of control in your business, which is not a nice feeling when it's about how I'm getting work in the door. So what is it about that brand building, that trust building process that you think is so important?
Yeah, so it's very hard to win a job when no one knows who you are. So if you put in a price, Tony, and then they go, let me research this company, and the company doesn't exist online and I can't find any reviews, and your trust is broken before they even gave you the chance. Okay, so you've got to really work at things like a capability statement. Put it in their face and say, hey, if you choose me, I can get it done. Trust me with this price. Don't worry about the cheapest price, because the cheapest price doesn't always win. I promise you that. I've been around for a while now. I tender millions and millions per year. I'm never the cheapest price, but I win a lot of work.
But it all comes down to one thing, and that's relationships.
Yeah.
The most important thing.
Yeah. So what else do you do on that relationship front?
Well, at the end of the day, you spend more time with these people than your family, Tony. So get to know them. Make them your friends. Reach out other than work. Go out for lunch. Take people out for coffee. Go say thank you. Find out how their families are going. Ask questions. Just like you would a normal relationship. You need to do that at work. You need to become friends with the builders and people you work for. The people that pay you money, you need to invest your time back into them. A lot of people neglect that. They just want the job. They want the win, then they want to move on.
And they don't want to put in the effort.
We don't do that,
There's so much external effort though. Although Jake's just says, I just work 8 hours a day. He might work 8 hours a day, but then he's got like 3 work events on top of that per week sometimes. Building relationships with builders and clients, and that's what it really comes down to.
For example, if I want to win a job, Tony, and the builder loves the rugby, well, then go buy 2 tickets and invite him to the rugby. Get to know the guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, go hang out with them and spend some time together. And
because why would they choose you? You got to always ask yourself, why would they choose me to give the job to? They don't know me. They can't see my brand. I'm not the cheapest price. The odds are against me, aren't they?
Yeah, I think you've struck on a key thing here, is that people do business with people they know, like, and trust.
Correct.
And in that order. So, like you said, they have to know you, they have to like you and trust you, and all of that effort contributes to that. And I think the big lesson here is you might be doing tenders and large scale projects, but it's still a sales process.
Correct.
Yeah.
You still have to be exceptionally good at sales, and it's just a slightly different approach than, for example, if someone rings up to replace a power socket or whatever. It's just a different process.
It's a different process, but it's the same method. Like if you go to a house to replace a light, Tony, and you go there and just talk price. I don't do that. You got to go there and ask them, how's their day going? It sucks the light's broken. Let me fix that for you. I'll fix it for you. You need to be on the front foot and get to know the people, not just about the job you're doing, but get to know the person that's giving you the money.
Have a chat with them.
Have a chat.
So you were doing about 140K in revenue a month. So what sort of indicative monthly revenue are you hitting now after you've put all this sort of effort in?
Yeah, so consistently we're around the 500K mark, but the projection's a lot higher. So we have a lot of work already won, and in commercial you win work 3 months before you start it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've actually got double the amount of work in signed projects than what we turned over for the previous year. So we're at 500 now, but we're looking to get to 750 within the next 3 months consistently, which is, this world's apart from 140.
Yeah.
It's a different beast. And what I'd love to dig into is my experience is, win more work, you have to be able to price more work, and that takes capacity. So what have you done on the team side of things that's enabled you to actually, basically get across this much work? Because that's a big part of growth too.
Correct. And in my tendering hot seat I did the other day, I told everyone, you generally win only 10% of work you quote.
Yeah.
So if you want more work, you've got to quote more work. Now, I said before that time is the biggest key. I didn't have the time to quote all that work. So the biggest thing we did was hire an estimating team. I don't quote anymore. I wasn't very good at pricing. I kind of gave in, soft-hearted approach and cut my prices down a little bit too far because I like the guy. Now it's out of my hands, okay? So if you want to increase revenue, you need to build that estimating team. You've got to get more quotes out the door, whether it's commercial or domestic. Keys in the numbers. Quote 10, win 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's critical, because if you're a $500,000 a month business or a $750,000 a month business, you actually need way more pricing power to even maintain your revenue now, not only to improve it. So it does take resource. And I think so many contracting businesses, tradie businesses are stalled revenue-wise because they literally cannot price enough work to grow, barely enough to actually keep the status quo.
Correct. That's the key. We quote, our KPIs are $60 million a year of quotes. We don't expect to win $60 million a year, but that's a lot of quotes, to maintain the business and grow it in the right direction. So,
and I think that's what we've realized as well. Like, even from day one, didn't even matter how many tenders and stuff we were putting out and how many things we were quoting. It was always around that 10 to 12%. So you're just having to increase the amount that you're actually putting out. It's not going to really change that percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there might be things you can do around the edges, but it's probably not going to be 35%.
Yeah. Probably not.
Yeah. It'd be nice.
I mean, if it is, that's great, but
yeah, happy days. We might have to look at your price.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk a bit about profitability and cash flow, because I love what you've done there. So what have you actually done to improve profitability and cash flow?
All right, I'll go back to the start here, Tony. When I first joined PT, I had no idea what the difference between gross profit and net profit was. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, scary.
I remember buying something and selling it for 20% more and thinking, I make 20% on everything I do. How good am I? Then I realized my overheads were 25%, and I was running at a minus 5% loss for months and months at a time.
Yep.
That's the biggest thing that changed my profitability, is when I was taught, and Nasi used to be in my ear saying, you don't make any money. Stop telling people you make money. When I didn't even know what my gross profit was. So yeah, that's changed completely.
So understanding the the different profit margins, gross profit, net profit. What else has been helpful in terms of profitability?
Holding people accountable to hitting their targets. Not letting jobs go over. So we back cost every single project. Looking for trends with builders. Sometimes, unfortunately, builders won't agree to the new pricing structure, and being able to let go of those people with confidence, knowing that it's not good for your business. And it is what it is. That's their business model. They can't, they're winning jobs at margins. They can't do your margins. That's okay. Move on. So back costing, working out what GP and NP was. Also, having accounts receivable process was quite a big change. I used to let people go out to 60 days because they were good blokes. Now I have an accounts team that chase every dollar, and it's out of my hands. I don't estimate, I don't do bills, I don't do invoicing, and things have improved.
We used to tell our coaches how much money we were owed, and their face looked like they were going white. And we were like, oh, it's fine. Like, we're going to get it. Like, we're going to get it eventually. And they're like scrambling, like, oh my God, this is not right. Like, you need to fix this right now.
Yeah, it's your money.
Yeah.
As a tradie, you have a bit of an ego, Tony, that you can do everything better than anyone else. And when you finally put that ego aside and realize that you're not the best bookkeeper, you're not the best estimator, you're probably not the best manager, and to be honest, you're probably not the best tradie. When you employ people in those roles to do better than you, you watch your business succeed.
Yeah, it's that's simple, not easy to do, but that's the answer right there.
It really is.
It really is.
What would you say to other business owners who are struggling financially as the best place to start?
Yeah. Look, going back again to the start, the first hire definitely needs to get your cash flow right with accounts receivable. I mean, there's no point making money if it doesn't come to the bank, right?
Yeah.
So I would definitely be hiring an office manager to work side by side with you. And then to increase revenue, you need to get more quotes done. Now, if you don't want to hire an estimator, then you can't do estimating and operations. You've got to choose one.
Operations definitely changed a lot for us.
You need to go down either operations and you estimate, or you go operations and get an estimator. You can't do both.
Just for the beginning. And then eventually you need to hire both roles.
Yeah, correct.
Love it. Let's talk about that structure for a minute. So how important has building out your organization structure been?
Yeah, the big lesson was that you guys taught us that you can't build the Empire State Building on your house slab. And that really stuck with me because I thought that's completely right. I need a shitload more concrete in my business to be able to grow. And every time we get to a certain point, we hire someone to be under that manager, and then they'll become a manager. And it's just legs in a business, Tony. When you don't have to take phone calls that you shouldn't be taking, like, one of your guys calls in sick or someone's cut a hole in the wrong spot, you're focusing on big rocks. Like, yeah, life can change quite dramatically and quickly. You need to have help. And there is not one business in the world that is just one guy and he runs the whole thing.
Yeah. And I think eventually also your team need help. So, people in their own management roles need people underneath them. So, example, recently our office manager hired an assistant underneath her to take the burden off those daily tasks that take too much time, such as data entry and things like that. And now she can really focus on her bigger rocks, moving more into a role of a financial controller.
That's a really important point, because as business owners, we go through an evolution of learning to delegate, learning to relinquish control and give other people responsibility. But the same thing has to happen for our key leaders as well as we grow. To be there's businesses that we work with who do, millions of dollars of revenue a month and really crush it. And those businesses, the department heads effectively are running their own businesses. They have to go through all the thought processes that you went through to be successful, learning to let go, learning to delegate, learning to trust, learning to hold people accountable, etc. So it's an evolution at every step, isn't it?
Yeah,
correct.
Absolutely.
And they become their own boss of their own division,
Yeah.
So they're technically, as you said, running their own business inside your business.
Yeah.
And you'll find that your employees, when you give them that responsibility, just thrive.
And
it's like
the right ones.
Yeah,
they love it.
And I understand it's hard to let go sometimes. It's hard to give people the trust to be able to, do these things. Like we gave our office manager at the time the trust to go and hire her own assistant. We had nothing to do with it because at the end of the day, Tony, she's the one that's going to be working right by her side all day, day in, day out. So if any issues or complications come up, well, at the end of the day, it kind of falls back on that office manager. And that's okay if people make mistakes because we're all human at the end of the day. But at least they can learn from these mistakes and, through their hiring process that we take quite seriously now as well. There's a bit of a structure in place for that. They can learn what they have taken that they like from that and what they haven't. So if they need to let that person go, they're going to have to do that on their own terms. We don't really hire or fire staff anymore unless it's kind of a management role.
Yeah, that's such a good learning. And I guess from my experience, how business we're involved with is growing. As soon as you're able to get other people to hire, you free up a massive bottleneck, because if you're involved in all of that and you've got 20, 30, 40, 50 people, it's impossible. In fact, nothing ever happens. And also, as you said, it gives your managers the responsibility, and good people love that. In fact, I think it's a real privilege to be able to give people that responsibility and see them grow.
Yeah.
I think nothing makes me feel better actually about being a business owner than seeing people grow as business people as well. So I love that. What I would like to dig into though is, how did you manage the fear of hiring more back office staff when it feels like they don't necessarily directly drive the bottom line results? Because I know a lot of people struggle with this. It's like, man, that operations manager's not on the tools and not generating revenue, or office person, same thing. So how did you get your head around that hurdle?
So we believe every role in the office is essential to the business growth. Example, the boys on the tools can't continue to do works if a builder owes us a lot of money because our office admin assistant hasn't followed up with the debtors. Then we won't be able to pay our suppliers and so forth. So it kind of goes down in line like that. Everyone has quite a big importance in the business, and you might not think that they do, but each role is crucial to the business and its growth.
You know what? The thing is, Tony, you guys taught me a lesson, right? $100,000 salary is only $8,000 a month. So I look at it like it's an $8,000 a month risk, not a $100,000 risk.
Yeah.
So there's some advice you can give to everyone is have a try. If it doesn't work, it didn't work. But are you willing to risk $8,000 for it to work? Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. And it's about running good financials, because then you can track whether it's working or not. And I guess in reality, most people aren't doing that, and that's what we'd encourage them to do, because you can see whether you're heading off track. And I guess the other thing is you can focus on what it costs, but it's also what is it costing you not to do it.
Yeah,
and I think that's the bit people most often.
And they also get scared though. They see the top figure, Tony. They go, $100,000. I'm not paying $100,000.
Yeah.
But you can break it down into 3 months. I pay $24,000. Yes, I'll take a $24,000 risk.
Yeah. I love that. That's a great insight. Smart. So you're talking about culture, and I want to dig into this because this is fun. So you recently won a Great Place to Work award for businesses in construction, and I think it is a reflection of the work that you've been doing on company culture. So, first off, why do you focus on culture so much?
Well, it started when I had 3 people leave me just before Christmas. Okay, I took that quite personally because I didn't understand why. I thought I was doing everything right, and I was a good boss. And then when I had I started to read a few books, actually, Tony, about how your team is more important than anything you can ever do. Okay. And we didn't have our core values set. And we sat down, me and Narcio, and we decided that culture would become our number one core value. That completely changed the company.
Yeah.
We are yet to lose an employee at all, touch wood, since incorporating culture. So that's, what's that, 20 staff or 18 staff without losing one.
Yeah.
The time and the money you invest into your staff, and when you lose one, it costs you so much more. Yeah. It lost time, reteaching, relearning. So we need to prioritize them. And my biggest advice is actually prioritize them. So little things like we started a company newsletter, goes out every single month. We give people a paid birthday off. And if they want to substitute that for their kids' birthdays off, we're happy to do that.
Everyone gets a Christmas present.
I buy individual Christmas presents and wrap them for every single person. So it's not just here's a $50 gift card, have a good Christmas. It's, hey, you need this tool. I've noticed. I'm going to buy you it because you can't afford it right now. Here you go. And the look on their face and, the gratification that their boss is thinking of them is priceless.
Yeah.
Okay. We do a staff day once a month. Now, what that means is it's all I do is go host a barbecue on one job, but I'll bring all staff to that job. So instantly the builder goes, holy crap, this guy's got way more capacity than what I knew. 2, all the guys get to work together one day a month and get to hang out and talk numbers and talk stuff, football, whatever it is. And then they know that next month I can see him again. So I get less chit chatter and, cross talk between jobs because they know they're going to catch up in a month anyway. When we started to do that, we noticed that, people were coming back to the office more. They wanted to hang out more. They were working overtime, but not charging me any money. They were rocking up early. And the Great Place to Work awards came in, and it was quite tough. So what they did, and I don't know if people know this, but they actually interview every staff member with 50 questions. And they're quite confronting questions when I read them after I entered this. But like one of the questions, Tony, was, do you feel like you get a fair share of the company's profits? Now, that's a very confronting question for an employee, right?
It is.
We scored 93% accuracy over the 50 questions. Now, for me, I left so happy that what we've done is paid off, that people actually want to be here. They like being here. They think they're paid enough for the work that they do.
Paid fairly.
Paid fairly. There's no disgruntled people. So when culture became number one, our business was, I had the confidence that, you know what, we're on the good thing here. Let's keep going. People like the vision. They like to be part of this company. I'm not scared they're going to leave and leave me out to dry halfway through a project.
Well, for example, we are currently in the process of renovating our new office. Now, I think that, yes, we may be recently on top of each other in the current office that we're in, but I think a lot of businesses would just be like, suck it up. Like, I'm not spending any more money.
Yeah.
Like, this is ridiculous. Because we recently just did a renovation on that office a year ago, this time last year. So now that we're moving into a new space, we're ensuring that everyone's needs are met. We really don't want anyone eating at their desk. We really want a communal area downstairs away from the offices where they can go have a chat, have some lunch, chill out, just little things like, we bought a coffee machine. We're going to get everyone to do a barista course together. Renovating the office into a space that doesn't just feel like an office was super important to me. I think as well, being a girl, I think it's a little bit different, and we have a majority females in the office at the moment. And I think it'll continue to stay like that. So I think creating an environment for them where they come to work every day and they love to come to work. There's lots of natural light. There's, some plants around. There's bright colors. It's just, it feels really nice and refreshing. It's clean. It's, ensuring that you have a cleaner every week.
We invest quite a bit of our money back into our staff, Tony.
It's the little things that you think that don't matter.
I believe a lot of companies don't do that.
Yeah.
Profits will come, in a few years.
Yep.
And the real profits will come in a few years, but you got to get there. I think too many businesses that I talk to be honest, Tony, they want all the profit now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They want to get to the 150,000 a month, but they want to take the 50,000 and put it in their pocket. It's not sustainable.
Like, of course, everyone wants to do that, but it's not really going to get you that far.
You got to start putting yourself in their shoes. How would you act if you were in, a crappy van, right? How would you act if, there was one person that you could talk to at your company and you could never get through to them? You got to put yourself in their shoes. And since we started doing that, honestly, our business and our lives have changed.
Yeah.
That's gold. I think the thing with team is that they have to know that you care.
Yeah.
And they have to trust you. And the best way for them to know that you care and to trust you is that you care and you are trustworthy. And that's shown by all those small details that you're talking about. What are you doing in terms of communication with the team, KPIs and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah. So at the end of last year, I sat down with every single staff member and told them the vision. Okay. from that, their managers would become their own boss. Now, the managers now sit down with their team of 6 or 7 or however, and they become like their personal mentor, so to speak. They give them each their own KPIs, their own 20s. That doesn't always go back to me anymore. I only deal with the 4 managers in the office, essentially. But all my core values that I insist now gets passed down to them, and then that gets passed down to them. And, I've got first-year apprentices that don't need to talk to the boss. They don't need to talk to me. They need to talk to their team leader. And the team leader then needs to talk to their project manager. And the project manager then needs to talk to the operations manager, right? So they've got a point of call, because I'm not always accessible, Tony. I can imagine a lot of businesses out there where they don't have time to talk to 12, 13, 14 of their staff about issues. But the issues are still there and they need someone to talk to.
That is absolutely critical, because this is why businesses, as they grow, they don't scale profit, they scale chaos, and it gets out of control, is because the structure is not right. And that's why you need the right structure. Each person, each manager has maybe 6 people reporting to the max span of control.
Yeah.
Therefore, you can give them the love they need, and you can bake that culture into the whole organization. So I think that's a fantastic work, and that will bear a lot of fruit in the future. And also, I think it's making it easier for you to actually hire people as well, because people know that this is actually a really good shop.
Yeah, I mean, 10 teams of 6 is still 60 staff, but you break it down and they're just hiring for their team of 6.
Yeah.
It's not even daunting for new staff to come in, because they know that they're just coming into a small group that's part of a big group.
Yeah. So let's talk about the mindset here, because that's an important part of success. So what are the mindset changes that you've made to achieve the success that you've had?
Okay, our minds changed when we had we set a plan, right? Mm-hmm. Every year we have a new plan and we stick to the plan. So we have long-term goals, but we don't focus on them, Tony. We focus on 6-month to 12-month goals. Okay, so our mindset is now changed to, let's hit our targets, let's hit our goals, and then we'll worry about the rest later. Too many people get caught up in saying, I can't do it, it's too far away, they can't see the light. But what can they see for the goal for this month only? What's the goal for next month only? That's where my mind's gone. I don't care about the rest. I care about the next month, and then the next month after that, and then the next month.
Yeah. I think also, if we are going to implement changes, we do pull the trigger pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I think we're
I
like
don't procrastinate anymore.
No, I don't think. Well, I think we're like that in our personal lives as well. But I think that's what makes us different from our competitors. I think, instead of sitting there waiting and pondering a thought or an idea about whatever it may be, even if it's for like a few days or a week, we really don't wait. We don't waste time. We just do it, and we just go, and we have confidence in our decision. And I think that's what truly makes us different, because a lot of the time I see, we speak to other business owners, and we've spoken to them about something that they wanted to implement, but the change hasn't been made and it's 6 months down the track. Whereas
Correct.
In that 6 months time, like we've made like 70 changes, or, we've implemented like a whole new strategy. Like there's so many things. The business is going so quickly. And if you don't keep up, you're going to fall behind.
Yeah. You need to say you're going to do something, Tony, and you just need to do it. Have a crack. If you say, I'm thinking about hiring an operations manager, then just have a crack and hire one.
Yeah. And of course, everything is calculated. You're not going to take
too many risks at once,
or a ridiculous risk. I mean, a lot of people do look at us and they think that the business, choices that we make sometimes are crazy, or they come to us and they're like, oh, don't do that.
But they are calculated.
They're always calculated, and we have thought about them, but we think about them quickly and then we act on it very fast.
Yeah, I love that, because you cannot actually know the perfect answer. There's no way of knowing that. And no, God doesn't give any of us a special gift to do that. I'd love it if it was the case. So the key to making things work is to make the decision quickly and then make the decision work. And you'll figure out if it's the right thing or not by the fact that you make the decision. But as you said, a lot of people never make the decision and they kind of chew around it in their mind. But they're never going to know if it was the right decision because they've never made it. And life just passes them by, and their competitors steal their lunch. And we just don't want that to happen.
Yeah, there's no way to grow if you don't take a risk. They always say, like, no risk, no reward.
Yeah.
And it's so true.
Yeah, for sure. And are there any other mindset changes that have really helped you?
Okay. There is one. And the things that really helped me, Tony, is we're not the smartest people in the room.
Yeah.
Okay. Even our coaches aren't the smartest people, but there's some really smart people that write some really good books. Okay. I think if people started to read more, they would start to learn more. My biggest advice to anyone that doesn't really know the answer, start to read. Okay, you're going to pull information out of stuff that you didn't even think about, and your life and your mind will change on how you see your business, how you see your family, how you see the world, how you see time.
Yeah.
All right.
There's always someone smarter out there.
There's always someone smarter,
no matter who they are.
So you should always constantly trying to learn off those people, even if you don't have direct access to these people. You can still pick their brain by the way of books. So we read a lot now, where we never used to.
Yeah. Or listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
If you're not a big reader, podcasts are a great one. So there's always ways.
Yeah. Learning is earning with L plates.
Yeah.
I heard that somewhere, which is a great quote.
Mm.
So how important has been getting outside help been for your success?
Yeah. As I said, the mindset shift of, wow, I don't know everything. And that I do read a book and then I leave going, wow, I'm going to implement this strategy tomorrow. So you're left with almost motivation.
Yeah.
Like almost coming in going, Nasi, read this chapter, read this, and she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, just read it.
But I think that's also what PT has made the biggest mindset change for us, is that we've had supportive coaches along the way, which have changed everything for us, because it's given us the confidence to make and implement these changes when we weren't too sure.
And we can ask questions.
Yeah, we can ask so many questions. We can pick their brain.
Yeah.
That's definitely been
And
life-changing.
also, I think, to be honest, our mindsets changed when we got to meet like-minded individuals.
Definitely.
You'll notice that we're all from different parts of the world here, but we don't know that many people in common in our general life that are in the same, position as us or vision as us. So
and
when
dealing with the same
you get to meet
issues.
people from, let's say, New Zealand or America that are in the exact same position as us with the same mindset,
it's really cool.
It's cool, and you can message them and you can bounce ideas off them, and all of a sudden you have help.
You have a community that you can come to. And for us, that's like definitely the biggest thing, I would say.
Yeah, and we're not afraid to ask. We're not the best in the room. We are now, there's always people bigger than us. So.
And I love that. I think that if you are the biggest in the room, what's that saying? It's like, if you are in the biggest in the room, you're in the wrong room, And so you always got to make sure that you're not in the wrong room.
Yeah. If you're the smartest in the room, you're in the wrong room. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's great advice. And asking questions is just an incredible skill, and a lot of people struggle with that because they fear actually looking silly or think people might think they're stupid, which is
and that's the problem.
It's the ultimate stupid.
It's the problem because you're not taught this at school. You're not taught, hey, this is not a subject. You're going to run a multi-million-dollar business. That's not a subject.
Yeah.
So
they don't want you to know that.
It's okay not to know.
For sure.
And everyone's learning and growing. We're all in it. We all have the same issues, just on different levels. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. This has been amazing, guys. I've really enjoyed our chat. And I guess the thing that's exciting for me is, you've made a great start with your business, but I hope you know that the best is yet to come. I think there's going to be some great stories written here, and I can't wait to watch, where this goes for you. So really appreciate your time. Good luck with what you're doing, and well done on what you've done so far.
Thanks
so much for having us.
Yeah, we love being here. Thank you.
Congratulations on being part of a select group of savvy business owners who are taking their businesses to the next level. And to help you on your journey, don't forget to check out our show notes for a copy of our free book, The Profitable Tradie, and other valuable resources. Thanks for being a part of this special group, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Profitable Tradie podcast.